Welcome back to another YouTube video. So this one is a little art doll video. It's my stone messenger Kitsune that is available in my shop at creaturesandnet.com. It started off by being very different, but I wasn't happy with it at the end and I ended up pulling it all apart and starting over with a different concept. So the first concept was a verdigris type, like bronze statue type, design, but it didn't turn out really how I wanted it to turn out. So when I put the verdigris colour on, I just didn't like it. So I sat on it for a few days and then ended up pulling it apart. So I started off by casting some parts in resin, so the face and the feet, and then I painted it up in a gold underneath, and it wasn't really matching properly to the faux fur that I'm going to be using. So I went over and mixed up my own colour, and this is the faux fur that I'm going to be using, and you kind of see how it's got a bit of a metallic look to it. That's why I added some gold to it, but I did a little bit more over the end, and once I put it all together, and I thought the verdigris would cover sort of a lot of it and make it look a bit more uniformed. So I've drawn out some patterns on the back of the faux fur, sewed it up with a lattice stitch. I created an armature, like I put the whole doll together, and then didn't like it. But sometimes that happens. You just make things and you're not happy with it, so you just have to start again. I've done it a few times. I also have done it with a doll that I did for the Calgary Zoo. It wasn't really the correct colour after I finished it, and they wanted it a different colour, so I pulled it all apart. And probably not to this degree, but I pulled it all apart and used a different type of faux fur and had to redo all the head and everything. So just sometimes it happens. So you can see here I started putting on the colour. I mixed up a watered down version of this colour. I have a verdigris tutorial on my channel if you want to know how I do it on other things. It usually works really well, but obviously didn't work well for the faux fur. So I was originally going to airbrush it, and I thought I would give it a go with the brush and see how I liked it, and I didn't. It also didn't really look great on the face as well. So here we go to pulling it apart. So I am using some pliers, like just some small needle nose pliers, to sort of roll where I've glued the fur to the head, and it sort of comes off. It's a lot of work and sort of makes your hands tired a bit, but you sort of roll it on itself and the glue will eventually come off. And I also use a little thread pick or whatever they're called to undo all of the seams for it, and you just sort of run it down where you've sewn up the body and cut the thread, and then you can pull it all apart. So I guess the good thing is I can reuse a lot of the materials here. So I don't have to pull the armature apart. I can reuse all of the polyfill. All I'm going to do is repaint the head. So I'm painting the head in a black to start off with. I'm going to be doing a crackling effect. So the colour of the crackle that you want coming through needs to be sort of the darkest colour. You don't have to do the darkest, but the colour that you want to show through you need to put on the bottom. So I'm starting off by painting the entire head black. I'm going to leave the red on there because I'm going to use that red for some highlights anyway. So that part of the painting is sort of done. I just have to be a little bit more careful when I'm painting around it. And then you want this layer to fully dry before you add the crackling effect. So I'm just using a water-based acrylic paint for this one, nothing special, and just making sure it's really, really dry. And then I can start working on crackling. So I use a crackling medium and it is Joe Sunius or whatever, Sunius or whatever how you pronounce it. I'm sure you can find a crackling medium somewhere, so just give it a good shake, and then what you want to do is apply a layer of that crackling effect onto the entire head. It's kind of a hit and miss with this crackling effect, so you got to get it just right for it to work properly. Sometimes it doesn't work, so if it's too dry it won't work. So the point of it is you need to get it when it's sort of tacky, and then when it dries it sort of shrinks down and takes the paint with it. So that's the whole idea of a crackling, that's how it works. So yeah, I've applied that layer on. It's sort of tacky, and then I'm going to go over with my grey, which is the stone colour, and then hopefully just leave it for a little while to fully dry, and hopefully it'll start crackling. You never know what type of crackle you're going to get. I've done this a couple of times on a few dolls. This one I would have liked a bit more crackling, so if you want to do it again, you basically have to do the whole process again if you want to achieve like a different crackling. So I put like kind of a thickish layer on, and just see how the crackling turns out. So once that's all done, I have the ball and socket armature. This is my smaller size, 1/8 size. I put it all together using my pliers. That's special pliers for these dolls. And I'm going to be covering it with some pipe cleaner, and that will sort of act as a catch when I start putting the polyfill on top to needle felt the body. And then I can start wrapping the polyfill around and needle felting it, and that basically is creating like a muscle tone for your doll. And then I'm going to be covering it in faux fur as like basically the skin for the doll. And I like to use a single needle when I'm needle felting things. I don't really like using multi-layer needle. It just kind of doesn't really work for this type of felting, especially when you're not actually needle felting the felting fibre. This is polyfill, so it works a little bit differently, but it's perfect for a basic form for the body. So this is the faux fur that I'm going to be using. It's a Mongolian faux fur, and it's a nice sort of stone colour. And I'm just doing the body to begin with. I'm going to be wrapping the torso piece, pinning it together, and then giving it an all-over trim. And that way I can start working on the neck and the leg areas once this is all sewn up. So I'm using a ladder stitch to sew all of these ends up. I'm going to do it all the way around everything that I'm sewing, and you're going to want to use a good quality thread so it doesn't snap when you're pulling the tension. Then I'm going to be gluing it all together using some tacky fabric glue and leaving that to dry for at least a couple of hours, but preferably overnight. So I'm going to be adding some fake moss to this one as well. So I'm just dabbing a little bit of that glue all around some areas on the body, and I'm going to be just adding tiny bits of this fake moss to just make it look like a little mossy stone. So that's pretty much it for this one. It is available in my shop, like I said, at creaturesinart.com. Payment plans are also welcome. Just shoot me a message to find out how they work. You can also find me on TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram at Creatures of Nat. And thanks to my patrons for supporting me. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, all that stuff helps my channel grow. And I'll catch you in the next one. Bye.